going on, you squares, ladies and gentlemen, Saints and Anks? Had to do a tribute to the late, great Bernie Mac on that first intro. But welcome to Track Talk, a part of the Lactic Acid Network. I am your host, Dominique Smith. Today, I have my brother from another mother. He hails from the great state of New York and is a finisher of the New York City Marathon. My knees hurt for him. My man, Anderson Emerole. Anderson, appreciate you joining the show, man. Congratulations on the second completed marathon. Out there balling and everything. Final lap. Did I get it right? Final lap track and field.
Final leg. No, all good.
Final leg. Oh gosh, this has been a long year. Final leg, as well as track and field Black History. Please check those channels out, because they definitely offer great perspective, great insight, and they do a lot of great things. And the creator is Anderson. How you doing, big man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yeah, it's one week removed from the marathon, and yes, I'm still recovering, but yeah, it's an accomplishment. So feeling good today, feeling real good.
So do you have any stairs where you are?
I am so lucky. I live on the ground floor of my apartment here in New York. I am so lucky. Like I used to live in a 5th floor walk up some years ago, but now ground floor, I walk into my apartment, lie in my bed, I just lay out.
My man, like George Jefferson, moving on up, because I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I feel bad for the people who have to walk upstairs after running the marathon and everything.
No, man. Yes, very lucky, but feeling good. So yeah.
Hey, man. Listen, let's get into it so you can finish recovering. Obviously, the big news outside of the marathon trials coming to Orlando. Athing Mo, Brandon Miller, they are leaving the state of Texas, headed to California, Los Angeles, to be specific, to train under the legendary Bobby Kersee, who at this point, I mean, who hasn't he trained? Allison Felix, most notable, he is Sydney McLaughlin's coach. He is coached his wife, Jackie Joyner Kersee. He's coached Joanna Hayes. He's coached Flojo.
Gail Devers.
Yeah. So realistically speaking, I know this will be hard to say who's the GOAT, because that's a whole nother can of worms, but it's safe to say that he is one of the best coaches, hands down, to ever grace the track in the sport of track and field. And so, basic question, man, what did you think of the move? Athing Mo is headed to LA, Brandon Miller's headed to LA, both 800-meter specialists. I'm not sure if he's trained an 800-meter runner. I have to double check. I did look that up. I didn't see anybody offhand, and I'll look that up again. But what do you make of the move?
Yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, I don't, from my knowledge, I don't think he has trained. I think his wife, Jackie Joyner Kersee, is the only one. Well, she did the heptathlon, so obviously she did the 800, but I don't think he's ever trained an 800 runner. I don't know. Initially, I was maybe surprised. I know last year when Athing Mo signed with Wes Felix and their agency and everything, people were talking like, oh, she might be moving to Bobby Kersee. She might be moving to LA after finishing Texas A&M, but she obviously stayed. So now that she's making the move, it makes sense in terms of going to LA, training with Sydney. Wes Felix is her agent. But it is interesting. It's interesting because it shows that, okay, maybe she's going to be taking this 400 seriously, right? Maybe she'll be doing this double more seriously. Who knows? And then, of course, those dynamics. I mean, Sydney, she said she's going to be, at least dipping into the 400, targeting, some fast times there. So the dynamics of them training together, I mean, that's like a dream. That's like the dream. You want to see them together. So this is good. I really, really like this move.
I think it's interesting to your point. So I had, and this episode is coming out next week, I had Olivia Baker of the Atlanta Track Club on my show. Phenomenal 800-meter runner. And in doing research, she made a switch from a training group in Texas to Atlanta but the training group, if I'm not mistaken, in Atlanta is more distance-based. And I could have this mixed up. And the one she came from was more sprint-based. Because I think she was, I got it right.
Yeah, no, Atlanta Track Club is more distance based for sure. I know she trains more distance athletes.
Yeah, and from a sprint standpoint, that's what she did in Texas at Stanford. She was a 800-meter runner. And I'm interested to see. I think you'll see Athing Mo in about 2 or 3 400s this year, because I look at how he did Sid and how everything she does. Sid does not run the 400-meter hurdle. She does not run the main event until closer to the championships, the USA championships or the trials or whatever the case might be. Usually she starts out with the 100 hurdles, and then kind of works her way, which I would love to see. I don't know if she touches Toby, but I
don't know. Toby's like getting into another stratosphere with those hurdles, looking at 12 flat already.
Listen, I don't know. I'm gonna say it here. She gonna run 11:95.
I agree. I think it's possible.
If not this year, it's gonna be Paris. Because that's just insane to me. But I'm interested to kind of see the approach with Athing, because she has the build of a sprinter. In my opinion, she has those long strides, perfect for the 800 meters. And I'm just being honest, it does not look like she's trying when she runs. That's how gracefully and smooth she runs. But the same thing could be said about Sid. So I'm interested to see kind of the approach. I'm assuming that she takes more of a sprinting approach, which is fine in the 800. You don't, always have to do the 1500 and above, to get a good 800 time. And just kind of how, like you said, if she increases, so let's just say she runs 154 this year. Does she kick the tires of the 400? Kind of to your point. Does the time, you see, now Sid feels that she has some more work to do. She wasn't, let me just stop and say, when you run 51:68 and you say I'm not satisfied, that's just, I'm sorry, 50:68. 50.68, and you say I'm not satisfied. That's just,
it's crazy.
That's crazy. And so it's just like, okay, I think there's a conflict. Okay, do I go back and finish the job and then concentrate on the 400, or what do I do? So I think this thing could be said with Athing Mo. What if she reaches something and she gets to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Let me go ahead and try the open 400. Where there will be, and granted, there's no guarantee that either Sid or Athing will be great in the open 4. And there's some people in that open 400 that will make it tough for them. But that's just my curiosity. Is she setting up for the 400 like Sid is, and will be dependent on whether she feels like, okay, this is good, but let me go try something else and then move back.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. The one difference I have, or one difference between, I think, Sid and Athing, is that even though Athing is like, she's about to break, she's run 155 basically flat, about to break that, but it seems like she has a lot more competition relative to Sydney, right? I mean, of course, we saw Hodgkinson was super close to her in Eugene, and even Ajay Wilson at USA's, and then last year at the Olympics, right? Hodgkinson was not too far behind him relatively. And I think Hodgkinson has run like mid 155 or 155 low or something like that. So I think Athing Mo, I don't know if time is motivating her. I don't think she's going to get to 154 and be like, okay, I'm good. I'm going to dip down to the 400. I think she really wants to kind of solidify herself as like this dominant 800-meter runner. Wants to get another gold, maybe get Paris gold as well, and then be like, okay, now I could really focus on potentially doubling or potentially moving to the 400. Because again, that 800 is stacked, and or at least like there's some women who you could see really progressing. Hodgkinson is the same, not, or I think they're the same age as Athing Mo, or at least a year or so. And then also I forget her name, but also the woman from Kenya.
I
forget her name. She
I know,
won the,
yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about though. Yeah, I think she won a lot of races. So she's also coming up. So it's not like Sydney where Dalilah Muhammad, you know, she's kind of on the second half of her career. You have Femke Bol. Femke Bol obviously is super fast, but I mean, you're talking 2 seconds behind Sydney, which is insane.
That's just
right. So Athing Mo, I think she wants to, or at least I think she should continue to dominate and solidify herself as like the 800-meter runner. No one's touching her. And then see, okay, now let's focus into the 400. I think she could do both at the same time though. But like you said, the 400 there's a lot of women in the 400. I mean, there's a lot of women in the 400.
There's a lot of women in the USA in the 400. You know, I just mentioned Olivia Baker. She, you know, ran 157. You have Sage Herda. You know, she's coming on strong. You got Allie Wilson, then Ajay Wilson, Raven Rogers.
Like that 800 is super stacked. Like it is stacked.
And so Laura Muir, who, you know, runs for Great Britain, she's good. Jamaica has a really, I forget her name.
Natoya
Goal. Yeah, she's talented, you know, but it's getting to the point where 157, if you're running 157, I don't want to say you're not in the competition, but it's just like, and that's so, it's like 157, the way it's, you know, starting to shape out is going to be the separator.
Yeah.
Like you got 156, it has to be 156. And I cannot believe that we're seeing that, just that really it's just a sport evolving, you know, with the time before our eyes. And that's a great point. I will say this quickly about Femke Bol. I think this is going to sound crazy, but if I had to put my money on Femke Bol, Athing Mo, and Sid, if they ran an open 400 like this year, I would go Femke Bol.
In the 400?
Open 400 to start. And here's why. Because she has more experience running it. Now, that's what I say. Listen, to start. Now, if we're talking finishing, Sid will lap. I won't say lap Femke, but Sid. But I think Femke Bol she's just used to running the open 400 more so than Sydney, and it's fresher. She has a better feel for the race. Sid will get that, and Bobby will make sure she gets it. But that's why I say it's a hot take. That's why you know, we're doing a track talk. I see you don't agree with that.
Nah, there's no way. There's no way. I mean, as talented, Femke Bol is super talented. She won the European Championship. She won the double 400 hurdles. But even I think just off talent alone, Sydney McLaughlin would dominate the 400. Like she would beat she'd beat Athing Mo, she'd beat Femke Bol. Yeah, I think off talent alone, just them three, I think she'd beat them. There's no, like, Sydney McLaughlin, she split 47.9 on the 4x4.
That's fair.
Right? Even go a few years back in Doha 2019, she ran second leg and she split, I think, 48.7. Like, though she hasn't run open 400s in some years, she has the 400 experience. And again, off talent alone, I think she won't be beaten by those two, at least. Okay.
It's hard for me to go off 400 splits because we've seen so many 4x4 splits.
Very true.
And then they run 45-2 in the open 4.
Very true.
So that's That's the tough part. So let me ask you this: how do you think Athing and Sid fare against what we're seeing out of this crop of women in the 400 now, the upper four?
So, well, so first off, Shauna Miller-Weibo, I guess she says she's retiring from the 400 and moving to the 2. We'll see. We'll see if that's true. You also have Sawi Nasser. So she's coming back in January or February, something like that. I think her ban ends in February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she'll be back. And then you have Paulino, who she got silver at the Olympics, silver at the World Championships, and she just ran 48.9 at the Diamond League final. Then, of course, Sydney, Athing. Honestly, I don't know if there's going to be a hot take or not, but let's say Shauna Miller-Weibo continues in the 400. I think she goes undefeated. I think she is, no matter who comes in, I think she is still the best 400-meter runner in the world. And it's to a degree, it's kind of like to your point where I think the 400 is still slightly different coming from different events, from the 400 hurdles, from the 800. And I think Shauna Miller-Weibo has really mastered the 400. But then after that, I guess we have to see what happens with Nasser and how she fares coming back. Paulino, I think is, she's consistently rising, but I don't know. I think Miller-Weibo would be like the number 1, and then it'd be a mix between Sydney McLaughlin, Sawi Nasser, Paulino, Athing Mo, kind of a mix between there. But yeah, I don't know.
Would you throw, okay. I agree with everything you said. I'm high on Femke Bol, man, because I think, I'm saying to start off, like if they're racing in April, I would pick Femke Bol to start. Now, if they had this race again in June, I'm picking Sid. It's just the way it is. Let Sid get a couple races under her belt. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying Femke could win, but I'm saying that I think she's just too talented to kind of write her off. Now, do I think she's better than Shawnee? Do I think ultimately she's better than Sid? Do I think she's better than that, duo from the Dominican? No, I don't. But, she's somebody that, you mess around, she could take a bronze medal. That kind of feel.
That's true. Let me not downplay, Femke Bol. I shouldn't downplay her. She even got the silver medal at the World Indoors. Of course, she won Europeans in the 400. I don't want to downplay her. I do just think like, I don't know. I think in 2019, Sydney McLaughlin ran the 400 at one of the Diamond Leagues early in the season. And she ran like 50 point something. So I just think Sydney is extremely talented. And I don't think that Femke Bol could really take her down. It'd be a great race. And like, if we saw all of them together, it'd be amazing. But I don't know. And I'm not downplaying Femke Bol or anything. I just think like Sydney is on another level. But
that's fair. So let me ask you this about Brandon Miller, and then we'll get to the next part, and then we'll wrap this up. Do you think that this move for Brandon Miller can take him to the next level? Because when it comes to the US 800, we're just gonna call it what it is. It was terrible. it was tragic.
Nobody made the World Championship final, right? In the men's 800.
If I'm not mistaken, nobody made the semifinal.
That might be true.
I think maybe one made the semifinal.
I'm forgetting. Maybe
because one of them got DQ'd. He won his heat but got DQ'd. But
no, you're right. None of them made it.
No, I don't think anybody made the semifinal.
Nope, nobody made the semis. Yeah.
And Brandon Miller with him, and this is the risk about when you have college kids come on the team. He ran a lot. Like this was he was going overtime. So it's kind of understand, but to me, I look at this move, and I think this is one of those why not moves, because he has the raw talent and potential to take over the USA 800. Because right now we're looking at Bryce Hoppel. Obviously, things didn't go his way. Donovan Brazier, who I hope gets back, gets healthy. When he is at full go, he's probably the favorite to win the entire 800. Running 142, he has the American record. But I think there's always that, who else? Back in the day, we had, Dwayne Solomon, we had Nick Simmons, we had, I think, what's his name? Cadavius Robinson.
Yeah, Robinson was there.
If I misspelled his first name.
Andrew Weeding was
Andrew Weeding,
a little bit, right? So, yeah.
Eric Sawinski. There was depth. There was, but now, at least you can't really comparing the men's 800 and the women's 800 is like comparing the men's national team soccer team to the women's
yeah, right. Oh my gosh,
soccer team.
That's so true.
like you just can't do it. But I feel like this move could really be beneficial because Bobby Kersee's tough.
Yeah.
So he will. That's one thing I'll give to his athletes. They show up when it's time because they're mentally tough, and I think that he could really help Brandon take that race to another level. I'm not saying he's going to win, worlds or anything, but I think when you look at him, we can be confident in saying, okay, Brandon Miller's on the team, the USA has a chance.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think not only, of course, with Bobby Kersee, as a legendary coach and in that training environment, but also just like the mindset and like the idea of like, okay, I'm stepping up. Like, I think a lot of people maybe could understand, okay, Athing Mu going to Bobby Kersee training, she's already like top of the world in terms of 800, but then Brandon Miller, right? He's not at Athing Mu's level yet. So I think his mindset is like, okay, now I really got to step it up. I'm next to Athing Mu in terms of training now. I'm next to Sydney McLaughlin in terms of training now, right? Like I'm under Bobby Kersee. I'm no longer at Texas A&M. I'm a professional athlete now. I got to step up my game and I got to really like push my weight. And again, he made the USA team. He made it to the World Championships. That's the first step. Next step, okay, hopefully he makes the World Championship team again this year. Next step, hopefully he's able to, progress through the rounds, maybe get to the Olympics next year. I think that mindset is probably the biggest factor that's really going to allow him to step up. So yeah, and even though, I don't know if he'll run like 142 or anything like that yet. It might be down the line for sure. But I think in the mix, that not even just the men's 800 in the US, but just the world, right? The 800 is not, it's really not that great at the top level anyway. So there's opportunity to be in the mix amongst all those guys. And yeah, I think this will be a good move, both in terms of training, and then that mindset is really going to set Miller focus. So yeah.
What does it say about the timing of all of this? Because I look at it and I think, first of all, it's tricky because I would think that if there was a true off year where there's no championship, then this is that would be the time that this move would be made. But now you kind of have to make it, now, because you have to wait until 2025 for an off year. Just to, reevaluate things, make changes, make corrections, take time off and everything. But, we're all gas, no brakes, Budapest, and then Paris to try to, finish the stretch run. But in your opinion, what does it say that this move was made now, specifically, not so much for Budapest, but more so I'm looking at Paris, and then even more so 2028 in Los Angeles?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, there's no break, so there's no opportunity to be like, okay, let me evaluate and let me take this off year to change my training situation. It's like, okay, we got to make it now. I think these athletes, especially someone like Brandon Miller, they're looking long term, like, okay, Paris, that's the goal. How can I set myself up well now to be prepared to make the Olympic team and to hopefully, make it onto the podium and to run fast and things like that, right? For someone like Athing Mo, I mean, she's already the best of the best in terms of her event. So the change won't be that drastic, even if she has to adjust to some things. I think just like Sydney, her talent, will be able to push her through, and she's an amazing athlete. But I think for Brandon Miller, the timing is like, okay, Paris 2024. How can I set myself up well to be prepared for that? And making this change now is going to be very important. I still think he'll do well in 2023, but maybe that's not like the immediate goal. It's a long-term goal of 2024, and making this change now is super important. So
I definitely agree with that, because I think it's good that the both of them have an opportunity to go through a championship cycle.
Yeah.
To kind of see how things are. So it's going to be fast paced, because that's just kind of how the sport is. But what do you think? And then we'll have one more question, and then we'll wrap this up. I look at the ceiling. Do you think that this is the perfect setup for Mo to get the world record? And so I know we all like to talk about the 400 and all that stuff and how that is, but from just a general standpoint, do you think that this is the move to get Mo to the 400 and to get Miller at a level where he's the top dog?
So, man. So first on Miller, I mean, again, I think he's going to do very well in the years to come. Top dog is going to be very, very, very tough. I mean,
so let me say this. Let me rephrase that. Top dog, because they doing some freaky stuff over in Botswana and Kenya and
right.
with Amos and I think he's suspended now.
Oh yeah, that's true. But Manuel Career, he's been super consistent.
The dude from Canada.
Oh yeah. Marco
Rob.
Yep, Marco A. Rob. Yep.
A-Rob. But top dog in the US. So let's just put that, top dog in the US.
Yeah, I think so for Miller, I think this is a good setup and a good at least first step to get him to be top dog in the US. I do think so. I think Bryce Hoppel has a lot of talent and a lot of potential. I think last year this year, 2022 wasn't as great in terms of course, the world championships for him, but he also has a lot of potential. So I'm seeing this move for Miller as a great way to be like, okay, he's going to step things up. And then Bryce Hoppel is going to be like, okay, I see Miller is like stepping things up. Let's go. Like they're going to push each other to really bring things back up to the, to some fast times, hopefully in the 8. And then of course, Brazier's, he's going to get healthy. And I think he's going to be, hopefully he'll be right back in the 142s again. So yeah, I think this is a good move for Miller to be able to really set himself up to run fast and be one of the top 800 runners. For Mo, well, I think this is a good move regardless. I do think it's going to set itself up well to be very consistent, to get, more gold medals, to get even faster in the 800, 400. I don't know. I don't know how fast. I mean, so the 800 world record is like insane. I think
it was like 153.
It's 153.2. I think it is 153.2. And to put some context, so that's the oldest world record in track and field, man or woman. It was set, I think, back in 1983. And even more context, Caster Semenya, who was super dominant in the 800 for years and years and years, she only ran 154.2 when she was dominating. Athing Mo still has a full second to get to 154 low. And then she has another full second to get to 153 and 153 low, right? So you're essentially asking her to like get close to 152. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a very, very challenging record.
So right now, Athing Mo, her time is 8th overall.
8th overall, okay.
I cannot, let me see. Jarmila.
Oh, Kratochvilova.
Very good. Because I was gonna mess that up.
Listen, I know my history. I study a lot of these.
Hey, tracking.
Names.
That's why, listen, we got the track and field historian on this show, man. You know how we do. This was, like you said, in 83.
Yeah.
153.28.
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely bonkers. 3 years prior, not even going to try to pronounce her name. Maybe you know it. Nadezhda.
Olazarenko, I think. Olazarenko, right? Yeah.
153.43, which is still stupid in this, right? Pamela Jamilo.
Oh, yes, from Kenya. I think 2008. She was, I forget what time she ran, but she was dominating.
154.01. And then in a distant fourth was Caster Semenya, running 154.25. This is crazy.
When you look at those times, again, you're saying to break the world record, you have to get close to 142 it's like, what? That's crazy.
I think she can do it by 2028. I think she'll have the world record.
She'll do it. I'm sorry, 152, not 42. Yeah.
I mean, 142. I mean, I'll be honest with you. That women's world record and then David Rudisha's world record. But Mo reminds me of David Rudisha.
I agree.
In so many ways. That's why I feel that she can be the one to take it down, because he did not look like he had such long strides and was just he and the thing most smooth operators with Sade, smooth operators.
Yes, man.
Smooth operators.
And like you said, when she runs, it looks like almost effortless, like she's just gliding over the track. It's amazing.
I've never seen anything like it. Really, Sid is the same way. Essentially. So I don't know. I think Bobby's going to increase her foot speed, and I listen. I think she will break it in 2028. But I'm not gonna lie to you. Looking at those times, it's just crazy that people ran that back in the 80s, like
in the 80s. Yeah. And granted, I mean, there's tons of questions with like Eastern Bloc countries in the 80s, but I mean, it's the world record. It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's why also with the 400 world record as well. I mean, that's the second longest world record in track and field.
47, what's 47.2?
47.6. 47.6. Yeah. Which is also insane. I mean, you think of Sawi Nasser when she ran 48.14 in Doha, which was insane, but she's still over half a second behind that world record. Like, these world records are crazy. Like, these world records are crazy.
These, specifically the longer, distance, records. It's absolutely, it's insane. Like, well, and we're gonna see what she's gonna do coming off that suspension. I don't know if she gets to that point, but we will see. And I will say this about the 400. If Sid commits to that, she will. I don't think it's gonna come as easy as the 400 hurdles. I agree. I think that's a good thing, because there's going to be competition to push her, vice versa. And I think that's needed. So, and I hope that she could spark. I think Talitha Diggs Has a really bright future, and that would be good to see, her kind of spark. And Britton Wilson, like if she decides just to run, and I think, listen, I will never say somebody else is going to run 50.68. I'm not going to say that at all. But if Sid decides to just retire from the hurdles, I think Wilson can steal the show.
I agree. I think Wilson is. I know again. I feel bad because I'm like, I don't want to put down Femke Bol, but Wilson is a sleeper. We got to call it. She's a sleeper. She can be there. She could be up there.
Oh, she will be up there. I don't know if she's better than Femke or what the case might be, but listen, I think it'll be a competition. I agree with you there. Last question, and this one's a tricky one. Do you think that Bobby Kersee will have every single one of his athletes become medalists within the next 3 years?
Next 3 years.
Everybody in that training group. Do you think within the next 3 to 4 years, do you think that we will get to a point where we look back and every single one of them at the same championship games or Olympic games will make the medal stand?
Wow. So it's going to be tough. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion. Sydney, Athing. I mean, that's pretty locked in. Like, that's pretty locked in, those two. I think Brandon Miller is the only one who would have to really step things up. I mean, it's possible though. It's possible, but it's tough. It's tough. Again, the good thing, the kind of thing that he has on his side is that the men's 800 meter globally is just, it's wide open. It's completely wide open. So, because again, Donovan Brazier, he won the world championships in 2019. Bryce Hoppel was 4th place in 2019, and he was coming off of the NCAA that year. So the opportunity is there, but I think Brandon Miller would just have to he'll be the only one who has to like kind of step it up a little bit or really get into, and like I was saying before, he's going to be seeing himself training around these already legends. He's going to be like, hold on, I don't want to be the only one without a medal, right? So let's get this. Like, let's go.
Thing about the men's 800, more so than any race that I've seen, all you need to do is make it to the finals.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do, because it is fool's gold. It is all you need to do is make it to the finals, and anything can happen. Anything can happen. You may have, because somebody could kick too early, somebody just make it to the finals. That's it. And if Brandon Miller makes it to the finals, I think he gets a medal. That's just me. If he makes it to the finals, I'm putting my money on it. The lack that I have, that he makes it to the medal stand.
Wait, do you think if he makes it in 2023 in the World Championships, you think if he makes the final there, he'll be on the medal stand?
He'll be on the medal stand.
Ooh, okay.
All you have to do is make it to the finals.
It's true.
And anything could happen. Anything can happen. Anderson, I appreciate you coming on the show, man. Please tell the people where they can find you, where they can support your work, the great things you're doing with Track and Field Black History in the final leg. And what you got planned coming up in the future?
Yes, so definitely follow Track and Field Black History on Instagram. We're building a website right now, so going to be doing a lot of articles, a lot of different things, just like documenting a lot of stuff with the history of the sport, of course, and of course, podcast is going to be going. But yeah, definitely check out Track and Field Black History on Instagram and follow the final leg on YouTube. There's going to be a lot more coming. The indoor season is going to be starting in at least here in New York in December, January-ish. So definitely follow the final leg on YouTube. Going to be putting out, getting a lot of coverage up here in New York, and then leading through the 2023 season. Looking forward to a lot. So yeah.
definitely be sure to follow that. You'll learn a lot, and there's a lot of great content pushing out. Anderson is pushing out. Definitely, follow Lactic Acid on our social media platforms on Instagram, Lactic Acid Podcast, YouTube, where you can get this YouTube exclusive show. I might actually share this one on Apple's, for everybody to listen to. Covered a lot of ground on this, so definitely worth sharing. But make sure to click that subscribe button, that notification bell. That way you're up to date on everything. And also be sure to follow us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are partnered with Track Barn. Type in Lactic Acid 10, no spaces, all caps, and you will get 10% off of your order. Anderson, I appreciate you, brother. Everybody, until next time, hope you have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you later.